UFC 318, Poirier versus Holloway 3 just took place, and I'm going to go through the entire card, starting with the early prelims, ending with the main event, giving my reaction and breakdown to every single fight on the card. And let me tell you, before I even get into things, the prelims were so good they carried the entire card. The main card was a bit of a letdown, honestly. However, it was saved because there were so many good underdog wins on the main card that you just didn't expect, and so many weird performances that you never saw coming. But the prelims were the massive, massive highlight of this card by far. So that's what we're going to start with. Early prelim opener of Carli Judice versus Nicolle Caliari. I told you guys, Carli Judice, third round TKO was up for grabs here. And she gets it done by third round TKO. I was saying maybe a head kick could get this done. Maybe it would be a 29-28 decision, but I did leave up the option for a third round TKO. And let me tell you this. I know a lot of people have wanted Dakota Dacheva to be signed to the UFC, okay? And she's just re-signed with the PFL. And a lot of people are upset by this. Who cares? We've got our own Dakota Dacheva in Carli Judice. She looks good on the feet. She looks really good at striking out there. And let me tell you, normally I'd say for a women's MMA fighter. Normally I'd say that. But you know what? After this card, she just looked like she had good technical striking, period. Dan Ige and Patricio Pitbull, Kevin Holland, Daniel Rodriguez. Some of the performances on this card made the UFC look so bad in terms of skill level. But either way, Carli Judice, really, really good on the feet. I mean, just tagging Nicolle Caliari in the face over and over again with shots. She had a lot of visible damage going into every new round. And in the third round, she catches her with a knee, puts her down against a cage, and TKOs her. Really good win from Carli Judice, kicking off the card with a bang. We move on. Brunno Ferreira versus Jackson McVey. It was one of those fights, and I've watched it back, and it was one of those fights. I've got random one hairs that are sticking out that are annoying me. It was one of those fights where it started and you went, oh no. Does anyone else think it's one of those fights? When this fight started and I saw Jackson McVey out there with his braided hair and he was kind of smirking to himself. The way he was throwing punches, like, honestly, he looked a lot like Patchy Mix, who recently made his UFC debut. But worse shots and more stiff. And it was like, oh God, Brunno Ferreira is going to KO him easily here. Turns out, no. Brunno Ferreira turns his back on Jackson McVey. I thought it was going to be a dangerous first round KO loss for Jackson McVey. The way he was moving compared to Brunno Ferreira was like, oh God, you're really overthinking this. You're really overthinking this debut. It was very obvious. He was so tense. And then Brunno Ferreira ended up turning his back. I can't remember what reason why. Maybe he went for a spinning back fist or something. Or just Spann out after missing a kick, maybe. And Jackson McVey jumped on his back. Now, Brunno Ferreira did a very good job at reversing this position because he fought the feet instead of the hands. He knew the choke wasn't in. That's what a lot of people need to learn to do more of. Fight the feet just as much as you got to fight the hands. You just got to choose the right time to do each. You don't want to be fighting the feet when the guy's working on a rear naked choke. You don't want to be fighting the hands when a guy's getting his body triangle in. You know what I mean? So it depends. But Brunno Ferreira did a really good job of isolating one thing to fight from the back take. He stuck his head down. He's a real turtle of a man for the division, a real blocky fighter for the division anyway. So hard to get under his neck in general. And he knew that. So he kept his center of balance low, shifted Jackson McVey off of him and ended up on top position. A couple scrambles here and there, but Brunno Ferreira remained on top in full mount. Jackson McVey turns around on bottom, gives up his back. And normally you'd think, this is where Brunno Ferreira is going to go for some ground and pound. But no, he just sort of like scales up Jackson McVey and gets the arm triangle off the top, which was really, really good from Brunno Ferreira. Really, really good arm. Not arm triangle, arm bar off the top. Almost looked like he was going for like a triangle arm bar at one point, but then he just went straight for the arm against Jackson McVey. So really good win, really good submission victory for Brunno Ferreira. A little bit of a layup, but hey, he got it done. We move on. Ryan Spann versus Lukasz Brzeski. Now, maybe a bit of bias came into play when I was going against this one. I had a thing. I don't like picking Ryan Spann because he always lets me down. But when I don't pick Ryan Spann, forget Will kicking against Waldo Cortez Acosta when he's rocked. He won't shoot a takedown then, by the way. When Waldo Cortez Acosta has him no idea where he is, wobbled all over the place, he ain't going to shoot for the clinch or the takedown then. Don't be silly. That's when it's time for a wheel kick. No, this time Ryan Spann went out there, landed a couple of shots. I think they both landed a shot or so each on the feet. And then immediately went for the takedown and dominated using grappling because he's from light heavyweight and they have better technical skill in grappling. It's a shame he boxed with Waldo Cortez Acosta the entire time and threw wheel kicks while wobbled. Luckily this time, he decided to have a brain going into the cage. Didn't throw low kicks against Smith. Fumbled that fucking win. But this time he locks in because I didn't fucking pick him to. Good job, Ryan Spann. Good submission, though. It was a good submission. Dominant win at heavyweight. We move on. Jimmy Crute versus Marcin Prachnio. Now, I went with Marcin Prachnio. This one was less so just out of spite. Listen, the Ryan Spann one, I was like, I'm not picking Spann no matter what. And, you know, we'd see if it was payoff. It was a close fight on paper anyway. But, you know, Spann won the fight. Good for him. I knew Jimmy Crute had this chance to get the submission, but I thought that if this fight went on, Prachnio would do so much better than him on the feet that eventually Crute would slow down. I do think based on the way this fight was going, Jimmy Crute wins the fight by armbar, by the way. Another nasty armbar on the prelims. But Prachnio's kneeing him to the body a bunch, and he's cracking him with some decent shots on the feet. And I'm thinking to myself, you know what? If Prachnio keeps this going, he's probably going to end up winning this in the later rounds. Like, once Jimmy Crute's takedowns get a little bit sloppier, Prachnio will be the way more technical of the two of them, and he'll probably chew up Jimmy Crute's legs and body with kicks and eventually get himself into the fight. However, despite his best efforts, Prachnio couldn't keep this from going to the ground. He got taken down 3 times in the first round. First 2 times he popped back up. Second time he got out of a guillotine to get back up. And then the third time he actually nearly escaped the armbar. Like, honestly, respect to Marcin Prachnio. The armbar was in, and he fought it with everything, scrambling all over the place, turning the right way. He did all the right things, but he just couldn't stop Jimmy Crute isolating that arm. He was trying to stack up on top of Jimmy Crute in that position, and I do believe if Crute didn't get that, he's known to slow down a ton. Maybe we would have been looking at a different fight based on the knees that Prachnio was landing in a clinch. But listen, man, Jimmy Crute gets the submission. Every time I pick Jimmy Crute, he looks the shittest you ever seen. And I picked against him and Spann here. And they both outdid everything in terms of expectation. But let's not talk about outdoing expectations because we got the main card to get to, which was the parlay destroyer of all destroyers, basically. But that was a good performance by Jimmy Crute. We move on. Islam Dulatov versus Adam Fugitt. Layup of a debut fight, but it was a really nasty KO from Islam Dulatov. The edits are going to go crazy of him walking down the catwalk after this one. But it was a layup, man. Adam Fugitt is just not the same level of fighter as him. That's known. I will say the dominance of the round 1 victory is impressive. Like I was saying, something like Dulatov under 4 minutes, but also there's a chance that this goes into the second round. So actually, I think I took Dulatov for more than 4 minutes or something like that is like a tip I gave. And he ended up fighting for 4 minutes and 6 seconds. Just saying. I'm a genius. You know what I'm saying? But I saw Fugitt being a little tricky for him, like trying to grapple with him a little bit. That's what I thought would happen going into this. And he couldn't get takedowns. He couldn't get takedowns on Dulatov. He had a couple of good moments where he had the hands connected around the arse or below the arse of Dulatov, and he couldn't get a takedown. Dulatov, very strong, very athletic, good kicks at range, and it was just a difference. It was another one of those fights where you end up going, oh dear, what's about to happen? Sometimes I see fighters in the cage and I think, what horrible coach has convinced you that this is your mission to become a champion in? You know? Dulatov is a different level to him. Speed, power, everything. If you ain't built for it, don't do it. I really think that about UFC fights these days. Dulatov was landing really nasty knees in the clinch. That was something that he was doing very well. He landed good step-in knees because he knew Fugitt was trying to crowd him. Like if he stepped in, he knew Fugitt would try and get the clinch on him or shoot a takedown. So he just kept throwing knees as he came in. He landed a good 2 of them. And then I think he actually posted on the head of Fugitt in the clinch and like smashed a knee into his face there. And then eventually he finishes him with what I can only describe as a Doohoo Choi punch. And it's the way that Doohoo Choi throws a lot of his, maybe it's just the correct way to throw punches. But it was like no wind up for the left hook. He turned it in, you know? He didn't whip it round like Alex Pereira. He kept a reasonably straight arm when he threw it. And he kind of just used his body to create the torque into a hook. It almost looked like a jab when he first landed it, but it was like a really tight left hook. Right on the chin of Adam Fugitt. Follow-up shots land. He puts out Fugitt by TKO. Performance bonus for the Versace model. There we go. He needs it. You know, he needs a break, Dulatov. One thing Dulatov needs, he just needs a bit of a break. You know what I mean? He's got too much against him in life. We move on. Ateba Guatier versus Robert Valentin. Sorry ass performance. Has to be said. Great performance from Ateba Guatier. I picked him to win by TKO. He won by TKO. I said that maybe Valentin could give him problems because he's dangerous and quite wild. But what the fuck was that? Brother, you throw back at your opponent. All of the runes on him. And the weigh-ins, like, getting all hyped up. Like, I was thinking, oh, he's going out. This is his last chance. He needs this win. He's going to go out there looking for a kill. Man, he got in the cage and immediately was like, all right, time to be TKO'd. Ateba Guatier did catch him with some shots, though. And he caught Robert Valentin and probably wobbled him pretty badly, which is obviously what started everything. But I was expecting more from Valentin, man. I was expecting some savagery out there, you know, some grit, some heart. But he just broke and then started doing this. Come on then, TKO me. Normally when fighters do this and start calling people in, it's because they're telling the opponent, I'm fine. Come in, I'll knock you out. You know what I mean? That's what they're trying to do. They're trying to bait their opponent in to get knocked out. But it was like, what's his name? Robert Valentin was like, come on in. And then Guatier was like, okay. Okay then, I'll just TKO you then. If you're just going to stand there and wait for me to TKO you, then I'll just fucking TKO you up against a cage. Immediately after Guatier hit him in the first round, Valentin thought, yeah, fuck this. That's what I thought about the fight. And it happened when he got caught, as I said it would happen. When he tries to step forward, he lifts himself up and he stomps to step in. He does this. Like he jumps in and lands heavy on his lead. And he goes up and over. And his chin comes way up in the air. And Guatier just threw a high left hook and caught him, I'm pretty sure. And he got wobbled and then just accepted a TKO defeat. Will probably be cut from the UFC now. A shame. A true shame for Valentin. He had aura on the Ultimate Fighter. But now Guatier's got some, dude. Guatier's like you can, market him as like the middleweight Ngannou. 2 KOs in a row in the first round. That's marketable. Even though he's not much on the mic, he doesn't have to be. If he gets TKO wins often, that's good enough. So, good win from Guatier. As predicted, a first round TKO. We move on. Nikolay Veretennikov versus Francisco Prado. I took Nikolay Veretennikov as an underdog here. He might not have even been an underdog, by the way, but I took him to win this one by close decision. 29-28, maybe 30-27, but competitive all the way. This was a pretty fun fight, but it was fun because of how shit they both were being in moments. Round 1, Nikolay Veretennikov, I think, wins the first round. I don't know how I'm even scoring this. Some of the fights this card were so hard to score. And I guess round 2 could have gone either way, but I feel like Veretennikov had some really good moments on the feet as well, and the knees to the body were really hurting Francisco Prado, and you can see him start to slow down, and maybe visually Nikolay Veretennikov was doing better in the second round, even though he was getting hit himself. And all of that, he had good throws and trips. Prado got takedowns on him, but Veretennikov had the reversal. It was a very close fight, but they did a lot of dumb shit. Like, Veretennikov was doing stuff like jumping off the top of Prado to go for a submission and losing it, and ending up on bottom position. And even, like, throwing wheel kicks. The wheel kicks this card. If you can't do it, don't fucking do it. Zellhuber was doing the same thing. Veretennikov was doing the same thing. So maybe that's all I'm going to talk about with this one. But the fact is, Prado's too small for welterweight, and he always has been. Could have gone either way, but he is too small for welterweight. He's tiny out there, just with a big head. You're a lightweight, brother. You're a lightweight. Let's be real. You're about Chandler size. You're not a welterweight, man. Fight at lightweight. I know you've got a giant head, but still. Veretennikov, yeah, he just pieced him with the clinch. Couple shots to the body. It was I don't even remember the fucking fight. Not much happened. But they were tired, and there was a lot of oohs and ahs and momentum shifts, and oh my god, this guy is doing well now. And I think maybe like Veretennikov knocked him off balance with a punch at one point. That could give him a lean. I don't know though. But yeah, I went with Veretennikov. He got the job done. Fuck it, dude. That's it for that one. But they're wheel kicks. The wheel kicks were just awful because they're not even good wheel kicks. It's not like, oh, he threw a great wheel kick and it missed. Pathetic looking wheel kicks when they're tired. Can somebody explain to me that? If you're an MMA fighter out there or someone who's in the sport and in the know, why do guys, when they're tired, throw wheel kicks and shit? Why not throw a jab? Like, you have the energy to throw a wheel kick and end up on bottom position and then work back up to your feet and reverse and scramble. You can't jab for me real quick or throw a good low kick. It was fucking sad. It was a sad fucking fight, but fun-ish to watch. We move on. Brendan Allen versus Marvin Vettori. This one got fight of the night, and it was a great fight. I had this Brendan Allen 3-0. I understand maybe an argument for Vettori in the second and third. Like, there's arguments. There is a close fight. It was a very close fight. However, Brendan had the visible damage advantage. And Brendan was kind of like aura farming in there. Again, I hate to use that word, but that kind of did give him the presence in the cage that definitely made judges see him as the winner, and it made me see him as the winner as well. He's the one pressuring. He's the one who's got Marvin up against the cage. He's the one pushing Marvin around. He's the one pointing at Marvin every time he hits him with a shot, whereas Marvin wasn't doing any of that. Even though Marvin was landing a good 1-2 now and again, and let me tell you, Marvin Vettori's 1-2. That shit took him to a world fucking championship in this sport. Nothing but a 1-2, Marvin Vettori. That's all he has, is a 1-2. I wish I was joking, but I'm not. He doesn't throw anything but a 1-2. Rarely you'll see a leg kick from him. Rarely you'll see him go to the body with something. I think at the start he threw a head kick just to be like, I'm different this time, I promise. And he goes back to the 1-2 spam. Or the 2-1. Or the 1-1-2. It's the same shit. No hooks, no uppercuts, no elbows, no kicks, no knees. Nothing. No takedown attempts. You're looking at straight up a tough retard with a 1-2. Top level in the UFC division. Like, you can't script it. Brendan Allen was doing good. So let's talk about this fight. It started very good. Marvin looked pretty sharp early on, but Brendan was cracking him and doing damage to him. Even though numbers in round one were close, 30 to Brendan Allen, 29 to Marvin Vettori. Brendan broke his nose in the first round really bad. Cut open Marvin Vettori pretty bad on the face as well. Was pointing at him a lot after landing those shots. And even though he was still getting stung by those 1-2s, couldn't see them coming. Evil. I was literally calling them as it was happening. And now I'm going to throw a 1-2. And then he would throw a 1-2. And now a 2-1. And then he would do a 2-1. And now time for a 1-1-2. And then he would do a 1-1-2. It's so obvious to know what Marvin's going to do. He does 3 different things. And it's all the same punches. Either way. Brendan Allen won the first on damage. Round 2 I gave to Brendan Allen as well. He also got a takedown in that round. Didn't really do anything with it, but he did get a takedown in that round. And had some control time, if I'm not mistaken. And landed good shots as well. He landed good body kicks throughout the fight. A bunch of body kicks that were really good. He should have gone to them more, in my opinion. He spent too much time boxing with Vettori, which was Vettori's only way of winning. But Allen just kept boxing with him and making it really close. Round 3 I gave to Brendan Allen as well. It was just the energy of it, man. It wasn't like Marvin would sting Allen with a good 1-2 now and again. Or a 2 or a 1. Or you guessed it, a 1-1-2. Or just a 1 sometimes. He'd throw it off and be wacky and crazy. Forget throwing a fucking knee up the middle or an elbow or anything else in an MMA fight. But yeah, round 3. It was just Brendan pushing him down, pushing him around, walking him down. Marvin hurt up against the cage in moments. No idea how Marvin's chin is still hanging on. He gets hit so much, so clean. So much damage on his face in this fight, and he's still there trucking on, moving forward. So you got to respect the chin of Marvin Vettori, but Brendan Allen wins. If Brendan Allen is outsmarting you tactically in a fight, I think you're done. So maybe Marvin's done after this. I'm not sure what he's going to do, but hey, Brendan Allen got a big win in Louisiana. I will say this. This fight and the next fight should have been on the fucking main card. Brendan Allen's from Louisiana. You knew this was going to be a banger. They have bad blood with each other. Fight of the night goes missing on the prelims. Vinicius Oliveira versus Kyler Phillips. Let's move on to this one. This also should have been on the main card. Sloppy fight for sure, but a lot more fun than some of those other fights on the main card. They should have had Vinicius Oliveira, Kyler Phillips, and Brendan Allen, Marvin Vettori on the main card instead of Michael Johnson, Zell Huber, and Pat Pitbull versus Dan Ige. That's what they should have had. Paulo Costa, Roman Kopylov were lower ranked at middleweight than Brendan Allen and Marvin Vettori and had a worse fight. But they were in the co-main event. I don't know. I just feel like the card positioning was so wrong. And we ended up getting a lot of stale ones in the main card. But yeah, Vinicius Oliveira versus Kyler Phillips. Awful. I was cringing watching this at how bad they looked. Now, round one, and fair play to Vinicius Oliveira, lock dog. He's got that dog in him. He has. And he trucks forward and he throws like crazy and he's swinging for the fucking bleachers and bullying around Kyler Phillips and hurting him in moments and knocking him down in moments as well. And he won the last 2 rounds extremely dominantly. In fact, round 2, he outlanded Phillips 41-4 on significant strikes, which is crazy. Phillips just wasn't throwing back in round 2. And then round 3, Phillips is completely done again. And after round 1, if Phillips has had a tough round where he's had to do a lot of output, he can't fight for more than 5 minutes. So he has no pop in anything he throws in round 2 and 3. And he has no adjustment. There's no adjustment. There's no difference in what he does. He just starts bolting in. And if that doesn't work, he backs up the whole time and tries to like catch you with really weak shots that have no pop in them at all. So it's really interesting. He tried a couple of takedowns here, got them all stuffed by Oliveira. Oliveira's scrambles are pretty good. Even when he's tired, he's strong. He can just get back up. He's one of those types of guys. But round 2 and 3, he just started pushing away Kyler Phillips and bullying him. Big shots over the top, big shots to the body. Low kicks were really good for him as well. Every now and then he would mix in a low kick just to change it up. And that really worked for him as the fight went on. So yeah, round 1, Phillips was landing some good shots and Oliveira started maybe getting to him at the end of it. But then after round 1, Kyler Phillips, top 15 in the world, is a useless human being in a cage fight. So he got walked down and bitched by Oliveira. And by the way, Vinicius Oliveira, who had his hands by his fucking waist, slipping all over the place, winging shots from his fucking hips, with his eyes closed and his head facing the fucking ground. I swear to God, man, I can't be the only one thinking this. I hate to shit on the cards. Because there were some fun fights on the prelims. And there were even some fun fights up the card as well. And we're going to get to the main event. That was a great moment. However, is it just me noticing it these days? That's top 15 at bantamweight. What the fuck is going on with the sport? Everyone looked shit tonight. Speaking of which, we move on. I don't think Vinicius Oliveira is going to be a top dog. Okay, he can be a lock dog, but he ain't going to be a top dog in the bantamweight division. He looked like, honestly, Vinicius Oliveira looked like Garbrandt could catch him coming in. Like, some of the times he was throwing in this fight, I was like, dude, O'Malley would catch you and sleep you. Like, there is a massive difference between these guys in the top. So it's made me a little bit more confident, if anything, in Jan beating Marcus McGee. So I'm going to use that logic moving forward. Moving on. Up the card to another fight, to the main card. Michael Johnson versus Daniel Zellhuber. Unk still got it, dude. A y'all must have forgot performance for real. I was tempted to pick Michael Johnson. Michael Johnson outdoes Daniel Zellhuber, arguably wins every round. I can understand an argument for maybe giving Zellhuber the 3rd round because it did look like the body kicks was starting to have an effect on Michael Johnson. But let me tell you this, as Daniel Zellhuber. Again, these guys are top dogs, right? Remember, guys, the old generation of fighter is so much worse than the current generation of fighter that you have to start putting the current generation way above them on GOAT lists because all of their wins are way better. But Michael Johnson just got through Daniel Zellhuber with ease. And Zellhuber had no answers. I don't think the game is evolving as much as we thought it was. In some divisions, it is. At middleweight, Paulo Costa showed better technique than Oliveira and Kyler Phillips. You know what I mean? And Zellhuber. And Pitbull and Ige. He showed better technique than all of them. So some divisions are advancing, but others, not as much as you might think they are. You know what I'm saying? Michael Johnson, Daniel Zellhuber. Michael Johnson drops him in the 2nd round. Round 1 is a Johnson round. He lands the better shots. He's got faster hands. That's what we know about Johnson. Zellhuber doesn't try a single takedown. He doesn't try and mix anything up. He doesn't try and throw any low kicks at all this fight. He doesn't really try and throw any elbows to counter. Johnson, as he comes in, he doesn't put a stiff jab out there. He doesn't throw any knees up the middle as Johnson comes in, the shorter opponent who's going to be lunging and reaching for him with his arms away from his face. Doesn't throw any knees up the middle to the body. Daniel Zellhuber threw kicks, and a lot of his attempts and targets are to the body here, 51% to the body. Johnson landed a lot of punches to the body as well. Zellhuber, I swear to God, did nothing but the babiest, slowest, weakest looking punches I've ever seen in my life, and then throw kicks at Michael Johnson's arms for 15 minutes. In round 3, they started getting through to the body a bit more, and he adjusted them, and he started throwing like side kicks to the body. Oh, the wheel kicks. The wheel kicks. The guy's throwing wheel kicks out there. That's the answer to his problems. The shittiest looking wheel kicks you've ever seen. He threw about 4 or 5 of them. And I think one time he got taken down from it. Johnson knocked him down in round 2. He survived. And he just sparred for 3 rounds. And let me tell you, this was another argument we were having in chat. Not an argument, but another conversation we were having in chat after this one. Eric Nixick, the neuterer. A lot of fighters are fun scrappers. They start working with Nixick and they become sparring guys that are out there tit-for-tatting shots. And then every time the final round comes around, Nixick's in the corner going, come on, what are we doing out there? We got to throw down, God damn it. And he's trying to like instill some kind of like, you know, aggression out of them. But I feel like they lose all of their aggression once they start training with him. So I don't know what is going on with that gym. And Ngannou would have been a champ with anyone eventually. So I don't know. I think a lot of people saw that as, oh, this guy trained in Ngannou and Strickland. Like, they become very sparring heavy. Do they not? Chris Curtis even the same, as we saw against Max Griffin. That whole gym is... And they're known for sparring. They act too much like it's sparring. You know? And it's just too much. And Zellhuber was just kicking the arms. No adjustments, no nothing. Michael Johnson gets it done. The menace. Great win from Michael Johnson. It's 2025, and Michael Johnson might be looking at a ranked opponent next. Again, you know, real bad look. But Johnson gets the win and a good upset. And it's good to see Johnson get a win. Fuck Zellhuber anyway. Who cares about him? We move on. Patricio Pitbull versus Dan Ige. I'm going to shit on this. Shit fight. A dog shit fight. Like Bellator fight. Let's just call it that. This was, and ironic that Pitbull was the one featuring in it. This was like finally tuning into a Bellator main event. The way they were fighting, there's no other better way to explain it. The shots don't look powerful. The shots look slow. You're wondering why some guy hasn't knocked the other one out yet the entire time. The grappling looks weird as fuck and slow and tired and sloppy. And it's just, it was a weird ass Bellator fight. Round 1. I thought Ige did a bit more than he actually did on the feet before the takedowns happened. So I was making some argument that maybe Ige did more damage this round. But it turns out he didn't land as many as I thought he did. He landed with 21% accuracy in round 1. I thought he landed a little bit more than that, but apparently they had Pitbull up on strikes. He also got takedowns. It was a close round anyway. The takedowns looked kind of cool. He hit a sweep on Ige and then nearly took the back. So I get it. Pitbull gets round 1. Round 2... Ige's kind of doing his thing in round 2. He's landing good shots. And Pitbull, I swear to God, Pitbull won 2 minutes of this fight. And he won the whole fucking fight. 2 minutes of the fight he won. Other than that, he did nothing the entire time. He got the takedown at the end of round 1. Nothing else happened in round 1. Well done, Patricio Pitbull. You get round 1. Round 2, Ige's doing his thing. Landing some good shots to the body, to the head. Same thing every time, you know, with the stuff that he's throwing. Every time the same shit. Pitbull catches him in round 2 and hurts him for a second. Starts teeing off against the cage in round 2. Nearly finishes Ige for a moment. And Ige starts doing really good towards the end of round 2 again. But Pitbull's had his flurry. He's done better in round 2. And he had like a 30-second moment in the second round. So he wins the whole second round off of it. Because Ige's tit-for-tatting at range. Ige was a monster. He was a power-punching fucking savage. And look what they've done to him over at fucking Extreme Couture, dude. Turned him into a fucking sparring session guy. Fucking hell, man. These guys don't know when to turn it on when they're behind on the scorecards. They really fucking don't. And in the corner, they're like, we could be 2-0 down here. Could be. Tell him he is. Round 3. Dan Ige wins the round. Pitbull does fuck all. What a shit fight. What a dog shit, dumb bullshit fight. And if Pitbull's on another main card again, fucking get him off. Get him on a fucking Apex card against some other guy in an Apex main event for all I care. Don't put him up on a press conference. He ain't got shit to say. And don't put him on a fucking main card of a pay-per-view. He ain't got shit to do. Swear to God if I see him on another main card. Fucking dog shit fight. But he won. So good for him. He beat Dan Ige. And that is a good win. But I just think they both look like fucking dog shit the entire fight. And I don't care. They look like fucking dog shit. It's a disaster to the sport that they're even ranked. A disaster to the sport. Don't ever tell me about NFL pay or anything like that ever again. Moving on up the card. Daniel Rodriguez versus Kevin Holland. Crazy fight. Crazy fight based on the second and third round. How did Daniel Rodriguez not finish Kevin Holland in the second round? And then, how did Kevin Holland not finish Daniel Rodriguez in the third round? Probably even more than how couldn't Daniel Rodriguez finish him in the second. Round 1's a very close round. Now, here is where I'm going to get some hatred. Did anyone else think Holland won round 1? I feel lonely on this. I know he got caught by a jab, and for a second he lost balance because he was in the middle of throwing, and he popped right back up and was smiling and laughing, and D-Rod missed every shot afterwards and was nowhere near to landing on Kevin, and Kevin moved away and took the center again. I know that moment happened. Was Kevin Holland not like chewing up his body with kicks in round 1? Or am I making shit up? I feel like maybe I'm making shit up. I seem to have this vivid memory. And listen, the official numbers are 40 significant strikes to Holland and 29 to Daniel Rodriguez. Maybe D-Rod landed the better punch of the round. But I thought Holland's body kicks, and he landed a couple head kicks as well. And even at the end of the round, he landed like 4 kicks in a row. I thought Holland did well in round 1 and could have won round 1. And that decides this fight, which is why I'm bringing it up, by the way. Because that literally decides the fight. Second round was to D-Rod. The third round was to Kevin Holland. So let's talk about those rounds. Because the fight went to D-Rod by split decision. Or unanimous decision, sorry. Whereas I swear I thought first round. I need to rewatch it maybe. I missed something. Round 2 and 3. D-Rod cracks Holland bad in round 2. Now, for a guy who we've never really seen wobbled that badly, unless he's been absolutely beat the shit out of, it's insane that D-Rod was the one to do this to him. Cracks Holland bad in round 2. And by the way, this was just after me saying and laughing about Daniel Rodriguez's boxing and stand-up. Juliana Pena shit. The way he was throwing while moving forward was maybe the most pathetic boxing I've ever seen in my life. I start laughing about it. The whole chat, we're laughing about it. Look at D-Rod throwing punches. Look at him. Top 15, by the way. This is to see if he can get ranked, by the way, guys. I'm joking in the chat about this. He cracks Holland with one of them shots, looking at the ground. Fucking, I don't know what shot he cracked him with. Maybe it was a bit better form for that one. But a lot of his shots were him looking at the ground with his eyes closed, fucking winging the fucking retarded punches from his hips. Worse than Juliana Pena would, because at least Pena's came from the shoulder. But then he caught Holland and really badly hurt him. And Holland barely survived a ground and pound on the ground. Nearly got arm triangled a few times as well, if I'm not mistaken. Scrambled out. They end up back on their feet. D-Rod hurts him again, but then Holland starts winning towards the end of round 2 and does a bit of damage on top position himself. So he's now, and I think he got a takedown there because D-Rod knocked him down twice in the second. And there wasn't a 10-8. So Holland done some shit at the end of round 2. And you're like, okay, yeah, let's not have that 10-8 happen. Round 3. Kevin Holland, how did you fumble that finish? It pains me so much. It pained me so much to see that because he had D-Rod so badly hurt in the third. Dropped him bad. Fell backwards, looking up. Holland lands some big shots, ends up on top. They get tangled up. D-Rod's good at just sitting back up from those positions. One thing I'm noticing is that Kevin Holland is very weak. Okay? So if you're going to have a technical striking match with him like JDM, you can carry him to doing better than he should do against you. If you put some physicality on him, you can break him. He's weak as shit at 170. D-Rod was able to just sit back up from bottom position, and Holland had no weight on him like he's easy to manipulate the weight of, let's just say. Round 3, he hurts D-Rod. They escape the clinch, and all of a sudden, for about a 10-second window, Holland becomes the best fighter in the world. No shit. They looked exhausted. They both looked terrible. They both looked awful. For about a 10-second window in round 3, Holland's the best fighter in the world. Bap, 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 bap. Stinging D-Rod with shots up against the cage. Hurting him badly. He's wobbled up against the cage. He's getting hit with uppercuts. He's sinking to the canvas. I'm thinking the ref's going to step in. And Holland is posting in the clinch with a tie clinch and jump kneeing to the face. Like D-Rod's not covering his fucking face. Jab him and he'll go down here. You know, any shot would have put down D-Rod here. Any clean shot. And Holland is tie clinch, jump knee to the face attempt. And it's giving D-Rod time to recover. And he recovers. They end up on the ground. Kevin Lee reverses position, gets dominant position. Nearly submits D-Rod, has him in a rear naked choke. Has the opportunity to take mount. No. Doesn't do it. I fucking hated watching this, man. I hated watching this shit. Has the opportunity to take mount. Don't be silly. Stays on the rear naked choke attempt that's not in and is it off to the side. He could have took mount there and won the fight outright. 10-8'd that round and at least secured a draw for himself, right? Or finished from mount. TKO. Like, we forgetting about that. He jumped off to the side for this rear naked. He had the opportunity to take mount. But he's focused so hard on getting the rear naked choke that D-Rod ended up scrambling out of like a half mount on bottom while Holland is off to his side trying to get this choke at a bad angle that isn't in. And then D-Rod scrambles round, ends up on top, and ends up bringing the round back for himself. No 10-8 round. Getting ground and pound on Holland at the end of round 3. So, wild to watch. Even then, D-Rod would separate from him and Holland would stay on the ground, looking for submissions off of his back. And it was another one of those fights where you're like, damn, these guys are ranked. This is an embarrassment. But D-Rod's a tough motherfucker, so good for him. Good for Daniel Rodriguez. Older guy. You know, I wonder how old he is. He's got it tattooed across his chest. He's born in 1986. Older dude. He gets it done. He gets it done. He gets it past Holland. Never saw that one coming, but D-Rod fucking made it happen. Good for him. We move on. Up the card. Paulo Costa versus Roman Kopylov. Where have you been, Costa? This is why I'm confused about this card. Costa had one of the better performances on the card. I don't want that to go unnoticed. He dominated Roman Kopylov out there. He kept Kopylov so far down in significant strikes in this fight. He's beating the piss out of him. I don't know how a judge gave... Chris Lee should be ashamed for giving a round to Roman Kopylov. Because I'll tell you this. I started this fight thinking, what the fuck is Kopylov doing? He's not throwing anything. Costa's thrown about 10 leg kicks and body kicks in round 1. And Roman's just been jabbing at him. That's all he's been doing. As the fight went on, I started thinking, you know what? Maybe Costa has shattered every rib that Kopylov has and broken both of his forearms with those kicks. Because they were devastating. I've never seen someone hit someone with something that looks so brutal and not do anything to them more than Paulo Costa has in his career. The way Paulo Costa hits people, it seems like he should be the biggest knockout artist in middleweight history. They never go down. And to be fair, no one gets hurt to the body these days, really. That's like an old generation thing, which is weird to say. But people don't seem to go down to body shots anymore. Body kicks, knees to the body. It's rare. It still happens, but it's a lot rarer than it used to be. Someone gets cracked by some of those Paulo Costa body kicks, they're crumpling in 2010. Absolute fact. But Costa looks great. His timing looks great. His low kicks looked good. His inside body kicks look good. Inside body kicks, but his body kicks in general looked good. Smashing kicks across the arm of Kopylov. Hurt Kopylov at the end of one of the rounds. I think it was in round 2. He dropped him. Hurt him bad. Nearly finished him, but fumbled it a little bit. Knocked Kopylov's mouthpiece out with a straight right hand. Costa looked great, and he was all amped up at the press conference, and he was amped up in this fight as well. And this is the crazy part, is that I just don't understand Paulo Costa sometimes. You could have been slamming those body kicks into Strickland, and you know you could have done. And I know that he tried a little bit, and he actually did have a decent performance against Strickland. I just feel like with Costa, he's either there or he's not. And luckily for this one, he was there for it. And he was in this one. And he was really actually committing for a win. And he ended up pulling it off. So good job to Paulo Costa. Surprised me with this performance. Roman Kopylov surprised me with how little he had to offer in general. Like, even in the third round, he's trying to get his jab going. And I'm just like, this is fucking pathetic. You know, he would land sometimes on Costa, don't get me wrong. But just everything was so few and far between. Like, you're throwing something and I'm thinking, Costa's just done 10 of that to you. And you've done nothing. And there was even moments in the fight where Costa was throwing at him. And I was saying on commentary, do whatever you want, Paulo. He's not going to throw back at you. And Kopylov would never throw back. Never try and catch Paulo coming in with anything. So yeah, Paulo Costa ended up dominating him. And not TKOing him, but nearly doing that. And winning dominant 30-27 decision. Called out Chimaev in the post-fight moment as well. Paulo Costa's back. I've definitely got to make the meme review video of Paulo Costa now, for sure. But yeah, really good win from Paulo Costa. Dominant performance. But another weird one, right, with Kopylov's performance. There were so many weird ones on the main card where you're just confused. Moving on. Max Holloway versus Dustin Poirier 3. This is the one you want to hear me talk about. So, good fight. Not a crazy fight. Holloway did very well. Poirier did not do that well in this fight, and it's been a growing concern of mine that he wasn't going to do that well in this fight. Because I think Poirier's been out of his prime for a few years now. I think Poirier's prime was the Dan Hooker fight and the McGregor fights. That was his prime. But you got to consider this guy's had a false hip. He had a false hip fighting Islam Makhachev, and I think he's had that against other opponents as well when it comes to Dan Hooker and all sorts as well. But he looked a little bit more fluid then. But since those McGregor fights and the Dan Hooker fight, he just seems a lot sloppier in what he does and not as refined or sharp, you know? Against Dan Hooker and McGregor, and maybe it's just them as opponents, he was popping them and slick. It looked slick what he was doing. You're like, damn, he caught him with a 3-punch combo. Since then, he's been slugging it out a lot. And you can't slug it out against Holloway. You've got to mix technicality in with it. And listen, Poirier nearly had him finished at the end of the second round. And I actually gave the second round to Dustin Poirier because of it. But that's the only round I gave to Dustin. Other than that, he got picked apart and scored. And it's very sad to see Dustin Poirier retire on a loss. It's almost in Dustin Poirier fashion, but I don't want to make jokes right now because he's a legend of the game and I've watched Poirier's fights for so long and every single time he fights, it's entertaining and he always delivers. And Dustin Poirier, I mean, he's one of the legends of the sport. He is. Hall of Famer. You have to put the diamond in the Hall of Fame. Even though he's not a champion. If there's going to be a guy who wasn't a champion that's going to be in the Hall of Fame, it should be Dustin Poirier, man. He's the epitome of a fighter, like a brawler, like a scrapper. The amount of fights of the years he's given us. Fight of the nights, even more performance bonuses, even more than that. Like the who's who on his resume. Look at his resume. It's unmatched compared to anyone, really, in the sport. Other than maybe RDA. But either way, Max Holloway starts by destroying Dustin Poirier, by the way. That's how this fight starts. They're striking back and forth. Holloway's going to the body a lot. I said he would do that. It's open on Poirier a ton when he does his guard up. And he starts exposing his massive torso. He has a massive torso. It's hard to fucking miss. And he doesn't have crazy footwork either. So his body's always going to be there even if his head's not. So Holloway had a really smart adjustment going to the body a bunch. Knocked down Poirier in round 1 pretty bad. And then nearly knocked him down again in round 1 afterwards. Off balance-ish. Wobbled him up against the cage. Started going off on ground and pound and stuff like that. Dustin Poirier survives at the end of round 1. Round 1 to Max Holloway, no 10-8 round, okay? No 10-8 round. I was thinking, maybe he knocked him down kind of twice. He nearly had him finished twice there. But no, wasn't dominant enough. The finishing sequences weren't long enough. They were more sudden moments. So I gave 10-9 to Holloway in round 1. Round 2, Holloway's destroying him again. Destroying him again at the start of round 2. On another level to him, schooling him on the feet, stomping his leg. Body kicks, body punches, all sorts. Spinning back kicks were working for him as the fight went on. I was in tune with Holloway this fight. When I was saying stuff, Holloway was doing it. You know, like, go back to that body kick. He had it locked. Like, Holloway was so conscious out there. Holloway was as conscious as me watching him. in the fucking fight, which is insane. Because the way he was like resetting himself, like I could see it as well. Like, let's go back to that body kick. And Holloway, you would see him go, calm down, stomp, body kick, back in again, jab, jab, body shot, move out the way. Then he would start throwing like a right hand and sneaking his lead hand. His straight lead hand is his nastiest weapon at lightweight we've seen. That's the true thing about Holloway. He has a really nasty lead hand jab as a secondary. You know what I mean? Like, he'll throw the right hand and shift him with it and then just jolt his lead hand in there as well. McGregor actually caught Poirier with this in their rematch. And stung him with it really bad. And it's one of the shots that Poirier says sent like a magnetic shock through his entire body. And Holloway was catching him with that same shit all the time. But of course, he don't hit really like McGregor. But he does hit a little harder at 55. That needs to be mentioned with Holloway. And he's still got his chin. But round 2, Holloway hurts him bad, stumbles him up against the cage, wobbles him, teeing off, big Holloway moment, body, head, body, head, he's teeing off, he's going crazy, he's landing about 20 significant strikes. Holloway ends up on the ground with Poirier, they survive, Poirier ends up scrambling out of it, gets back up to his feet. Poirier hurts Holloway at the end of round 2. And when I tell you I was screaming for that guillotine so badly, Dude, Poirier wobbles Holloway at the end of round 2 with a punch behind the ear. Badly hurts him. And I think that made Poirier win the round more than Holloway, because Poirier got wobbled and then beaten up against the cage and then it stopped. Maybe that round can still go to Holloway, but Poirier dropped Holloway with a punch. Like a bad, wobbled, oh shit, I'm really badly hurt, I'm going down type of thing. And then he nearly had a guillotine at the end of the second round as well. When he jumped that shit, would that not have been the best send-off ever? He gets dropped in round 1. He's getting beaten up in round 2. Then he drops Holloway at the end of the second and finishes him with a guillotine with seconds to go. Cinema. That would have been the best Poirier retirement you could have possibly asked for. A crazy retirement that would have been. Then round 3 and 4. Round 3, 4, and 5 after that, sorry. Holloway does school Poirier in those rounds. I know I saw a lot of people claiming 2-2. The commentary, I was listening to the commentary because it was Poirier's last fight. I was listening to the commentary and they were yapping about Poirier. John Anik, shut the fuck up sometimes. It's okay for nothing to be said. I don't know if he's Adderalled the fuck out. John Anik this is. Stimmed up on Adderalls behind the desk. Holy shit, nobody's spoken in a few moments. Big shot by Poirier. He'll just say it. No exchange has happened. Or a feint has been made by Poirier. And Anik, because he doesn't want to have dead air time on the commentary, or doesn't want to end what he's saying abruptly, will segue it, or randomly out of nowhere just say, or segue into, big shot by so-and-so. And another great jab by Poirier. That got Max's attention. No, it didn't. And it didn't even land. Shut up, John Anik. Let it be quiet sometimes unless something actually happens. They're screaming for shots that aren't even landing on Holloway. They really tried to make this seem like 2-2. It was 3-1 Holloway going into the 5th. And the second is an if. But I gave it to Poirier. But round 3, schooling Poirier again. Body shots, jabs to the body, jab, jab 2 to the body. He's starting to land in combination on Poirier's face. Poirier's landing good in round 3 as well, by the way. Cuts open Holloway, hits his nose, a little bit of blood comes out of his nose, but Poirier's got a swollen eye, a cut under his eye, in his eye from one of the left hooks of Holloway as well, and then his nose is busted too. So they're in even spots there. I will say that Holloway, one difference we've noticed from him recently is that he takes a lot. His visible damage shows up way more. Way more recently. Since the Volk trilogy, or maybe even since the Poirier rematch in the first place. His visible damage shows up more. I remember a time where you could hit Holloway with anything and you'd be like, this guy just went 5 hard rounds. He don't look like he's even been in a fight. That sometimes used to be how it would be with Holloway, where you would be confused as to how this man's face has just been in a 5-round fucking car crash. But now he's very obviously wearing damage. Maybe it's because the guys he's fighting hit harder or something, but I notice it a lot more, even in some of the fights that he's won at featherweight, where, especially recently, where he's still shown a lot of the visible damage. Same with Yair Rodriguez. He had a lot of visible damage on his face, and I was thinking, that didn't used to happen to Holloway. He used to look like nothing had happened to him at all. And now it's all showing up a lot every fight. So all the cuts are reopening, obviously. And there's like, I almost feel like there's muscle memory for like swelling. Like if a part of your body is swollen up before, it knows that it can do that again. Like, it almost doesn't want to until it has done, and then it knows that it has that as an option to recover. I don't know how it works, but that's how I'd guess it would work. Well, guess it worked. And then Holloway scored him for the last few rounds. Picked him apart, landed good shots, had Poirier in some trouble at moments, but never really rocked him again. Hurt him in the 4th round, I think. Went to the body a lot. You could see Poirier not liking the body shots. At one point, he spinning back kicked Poirier in the fucking neck while Poirier was coming in. Holloway looked good. He looked a little bit slower than usual, a little bit less footwork than usual, but he looked good. And he has a lot more pop at 55 with his power. I think he should fight Charles Oliveira next. But round 5, Holloway did his thing again, schooling Poirier. Poirier had some moments, but Max nearly over-doubled him on significant strikes. Just picking at him with volume the whole time. Combinations, the lead hand sneaking in the middle of combos as well on an offbeat. Nasty stuff from Holloway here and there. And then the saddest part was you knew Poirier was retired. Max points to the fucking center at the end of the fight. Wants to duke it out with Poirier. Mogs him. Mogs him in the pocket. Beats the fuck out of him for like 7 seconds. And then Poirier's like desperately looking for the clinch against him. It was a bad look at the end of the fight. And I wish Holloway would never have done it, to be honest with you. I know what Holloway wanted to do. Like, here's your moment. You're a legend. Let's duke it out for the last 10 seconds. But that's what I said going into this. When you know it's your last fight, different mindset. If Poirier thought there was a title shot on the line, if he would have won, he's not clinching in that fucking pocket space with Max Holloway at the end of the fight. He's swinging back. But that's when you saw it. That's the difference between a guy who knows he ain't in this anymore and someone in Holloway who still feels like he has unfinished business with Ilia Topuria. It's not unfinished business, but it can be repeat business if he wants it to. Not saying that he would lose again, even though I think he would. But it can be a rematch if he wants it to. But it's not like there's unfinished business. He got chinned. I will say the BMF belt thing needs to stop. I know they should do Holloway Oliveira next, and it would be cool to see Oliveira with a BMF belt. I just can't stand here and still on a guy who I watched in his last fight get slept badly and humiliated by Ilia Topuria. I can't. That makes it silly for me. Anyone else? I don't like the BMF belt. I really don't. I think it's silly as fuck. I think it's childish as fuck. Get rid of it. Get rid of it. Some WWE shit. I can't watch a guy just lose. And still, in their next fight, like, what? And still, Ilia's not the BMF champ? It was silly when Masvidal lost to Usman. That's not how BMF takes a belt. Usman flatline KOs him in the rematch. Still no BMF belt handed over. Leon Edwards head kick KOs Usman, doesn't get a BMF belt. I know Bilal didn't get one, but, he won. Then JDM's the lineal BMF champ if we're playing this serious. Fuck that BMF belt, man. It's just a fucking excuse to have a title fight at the top of a pay-per-view when the UFC fucks up and doesn't have a title fight for a pay-per-view. Let's call it what it is. Anyway. See you later. Thank you for tuning in. Toodle pip. Goodbye. Max Holloway scores him to a decision. I got that one correct. I went 8-6 on predictions. I don't think that's that bad, seeing as I don't think anyone did well on this main card. If you did well on this main card, you're an oracle. Because I did not see those 4 fights going that way at all. See you later. Goodbye. Toodle pip.